Welcome to the Lowdown. This is GhanaWeb's flagship program that digs deep into relevant issues for the hard truth and unveil the facts. My name is Ni Akwe Ismail Akwe. There's a lot of dissatisfaction with the management of the country called Ghana. A lot of demonstrations have been planned, but only a few have been successful in the past 3 years. Our guest for this week is a successful protester, serial activist and detainee, and leader of a group that describes itself as a radical Nkrumahist movement working for economic democracy in Ghana. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to the Lowdown on GhanaWeb TV. My name is Ni Akwe Ismail Akwe. Our guest this week is not a president. He is also not a soldier, but he's the commander-in-chief of the Economic Fighters League, Ernesto Yeboah. Welcome, Ernesto Yeboah, to our studio.
Thank you very much, Ni.
So, how are you doing? Bearing in mind that for about 9 months, we're going to and from the court over the George Floyd vigil you led in June 2020.
Well, Ni, we are still fighting, and I'm sure it is not going to be our last. There are many more arrests that would meet us as we enter the future. And we are not afraid because we've committed ourselves and our lives to something that we believe in. And so we keep fighting.
So did you receive the withdrawal of the case by the state with happiness, or was it with disappointment?
Well, I wasn't surprised looking at the way the case was traveling in court. And right from day one, we had said that there was no basis for the arrest in the first place. It was unlawful, it was illegal, it shouldn't have happened. Unfortunately, in this false and rotten republic that we have, even the right to mourn is decided by Akufo-Addo, or who is president. You remember they mourned George Floyd. So what prevented us from mourning as ordinary Ghanaians? You remember the unfortunate incident of the killing of the 90-year-old woman in the Savannah region, Madame Mariama Equiadente. We wanted to organize a similar vigil to make a promise to ourselves as a people that never again should anything of the sort happen. Ghana Police, which was expected to, offer its service as Ghana Police, only turned themselves into a party police, ensuring that that wouldn't also happen. Why? So the question is, if it was Akufo-Addo's mother who were mourning, would Ghana Police have behaved the way they did? So, like I'm saying, it's a rotten system, it's a rotten republic, a false one, and the only duty assigned to us is to fight it until we tear it down.
I have to remind the viewers that the vigil we are talking about was the George Floyd vigil organized in June 2020, and it was in support of the Black Lives Matter. Ernesto was arrested and was detained for some hours, and then after he's been going to court, and the case, the charge was breach of the Public Order Law.
Public Order Act.
Yes. So you've been in protests from July 2019. That was a very big one. That's the Drop the Chamber, hashtag Drop the Chamber protest, which was against the parliamentary chamber, which they debated on getting that built. There was also another one in January 2020 against human rights abuses in Uganda. There was also another one in June 2020, which is a George Floyd vigil. And then we also had your election boycott. That's the Economic Fighters League of the elections, the elections 2020. And so many others that you've been, championing. Do you think it is worth fighting?
Well, certainly it is. And like I have said, we have no choice than to fight. If our forefathers like J.B. Dankwa, Kwame Nkrumah, Kisley Hayford, Mensa Saba and Co. did not fight for us, I'm sure we would still have been wallowing in the pits of colonialism. And so every generation is bestowed with that responsibility to fight what is wrong in their society in order to leave behind a better world than they met it. And that's precisely what we have been doing. I know that personally I am very misunderstood, and misunderstood because it's also the way the media or the agencies of power have tried to describe us or to portray us in the public domain as some people who are just mindless, unreasonable, ranters, rioters, and all of that. I'm very much aware of that characterization that has deliberately been machinated on our personality. But do we stop because of that kind of perception or malignment that the forces of oppression wants to impose on the impressions or on the minds of people? And like I'm saying, we have absolutely no choice. So these consequences are there. We would go to prison, we might get killed, but it has to be done. Somebody has to do it. And that is why we are involved in what we are doing. And I've been working with many young people. Our organization is made up of more than 10,000 young people who are duly registered with us. We engage them, we communicate with them, and they align in almost all facets of the lives of this country. We have some who are police officers, we have some who are army officers, we have some who are students, we have some who are lawyers, we have some. So that's the kind of organization that I belong to. And I have absolutely no doubt that we are far more intelligent than the political leadership that this country has.
Looking at your Facebook page, that's the Economic Fighters League, you describe yourselves as a radical Nkrumahist group or movement that's seeking economic democracy in Ghana. Isn't that the same as the perception that you are talking about right now?
Yeah, but being radical does not mean being violent. I believe in radical politics, the politics of truth. Our society is not used to hearing the truth as it is. We would want to batter it, smother it, temper it, just so that it feels good in the ears of those who are oppressing us. We cut off that foolishness and just say it as it is. That you are fooling, you are stealing. I mean, so when we do this, it does not mean we are some mindless group of people, as they seek to portray us. We simply want the good of society. We want things to happen in the way that they have to happen.
Is that what got you out of the CPP?
The truth about this is that the CPP as we have it is not Kwame Nkrumah's CPP. This CPP was constituted by a body of people who approached the court, and the court said, okay, you can use the name CPP, you can use the color CPP, you can use the Akokre and blah, blah, blah. But take note that this CPP that you are going to constitute is not Kwame Nkrumah's CPP. Kwame Nkrumah's CPP is still proscribed under the 1992 Constitution. Nkrumah himself is a wanted criminal under the 1992 Constitution. And that's where we are. If you take NLC decree, is it NLC decree 23? It says that anybody who receives communication purported to have emanated from Nkrumah, the person is enjoined to report to the nearest police station or military barracks. For what? For Nkrumah's arrest. So this is a truth of the history of our country. But then the false republic has hidden it so well that our society even seems to have forgotten about it and thinks that we are practicing a democracy. It's not a democracy. It's a false, system that has to be torn down with the bare hands of the people if we have to.
So why did you join when you knew all of these things about the CPP?
We joined because there's also the genuine quest where we are searching for real alternatives. Look, I have voted for the MPP before. They came to power. I have voted for the NDC before. They came to power. And in all cases, they messed up. So it's only logical that we tried another alternative. And that alternative at the time was the Convention People's Party, parroting Nkrumah's ideas and all of that. So it gave a certain glimmer of hope that, okay, then this may be the vehicle that may actually bring about the change that our society is looking for. We entered and then we saw that, oh, it's actually a business established by the MPP NDC. And the leadership in there are not interested in bringing the party to power or following any, direct line to bring the party back to power. Anybody who steps in to work genuinely to bring the party back to power becomes the enemy. And that person is fought and fought and fought and fought and fought until the person is flushed out. So this is what it was. Now imagine, this is what happened in 2016. I was a leader of the youth wing of that party. I took the sitting president to Sraj to answer questions on corruption after his collection of the Ford expedition bribe or gift, whatever they want to. But Sraj in the end came up with a report that said that no, the president abused his office, was in conflict of interest. Looking at how they tried to frame it, of course it was an election year and all of that. Imagine that I was a youth wing leader of, let's say, the MPP, which was equally in opposition at the time. And having done this, Baumia, Nanado Dankwe Kufuado, the leadership of the party congregate and say, let us suspend Ernesto Yeboah for taking Mahama to Sraj. It's not normal. But this is precisely what happened in the Convention People's Party. That, hey, why have you taken the sitting president to Sraj? Why do you want to disgrace us? So the whole central committee of the party meets. And then the most brilliant idea that comes to them is, let's suspend this guy. And then subsequently, let's flush him out of the party. So I am saying that the CPP as we find it today is as corrupt and rotten as the system, the entire system in Ghana that we are trying to pull down. And this has come to us by practice. We are practitioners of Nkrumah's ideas. That's why recent, commentary from the former president, Kufuor, hasn't attracted our attention. We are not in there to battle. We leave that to parties like the NDC and the CPP that derive their relevance from the superficial defense of Kwame Nkrumah. We practice Nkrumah's ideas.
So is the EFL the new CPP of Kwame Nkrumah? Well, hold your thoughts there. We'll be back after this break, and then we'll also discuss Fix the Country. This is the Lowdown. We'll be right back.
From the dawn of time, people have engaged in several businesses. With the onset of technology and innovation, life has relatively been made easier. By using debit or credit cards,
mobile banking.
Thank you. And your favorite, mobile money?
tech has indeed married business. On BizTech, we spend time with faces behind known and upcoming businesses in the country.
Learn more about the new technologies and innovation,
as well as find out about the trending issues in the world of business.
Join us as we serve you with a variety of compelling interviews, projects, and others right here on GhanaWeb TV.
Welcome back to the Lowdown. My name is Ismail Akwe, and our guest is Ernesto Yeboah. So we're talking about EFL being the new Nkrumah's CPP. Is that the case?
Well, we are guided by Nkrumah's ideology and philosophy of conscientism, if you may, Nkrumahism. But then we are not limited to just Nkrumah's ideas. We are also opened to other revolutionary ideas, such as those from Karl Marx, those from Mao Zedong, those from Cabral, those from Sekou Touré, and all of that. And so this is what we are. We are not seeking to replace Kwame Nkrumah's CPP or anything of the sort. We are ready to make our own mistakes through the practice and theory. So we learn and then we practice. Everything that we have done as an organization is born out of the theory. And this is what we have assigned ourselves to do. So our mobilization, our activities are all guided from that, philosophical worldview, if you may.
Red Beret, we have the fists,
Absolutely.
and also fighting for economic democracy.
Yeah.
You look and feel just like the EFF, that's the Economic Freedom Fighters of South Africa. Is that also one of your inspirations?
Anybody who has known Ernesto Yeboah knows that I have always been Ernesto Yeboah. And one may even look at Julius and say he takes inspiration from Nkrumah. And that's where we have all picked our inspiration from Kwame Nkrumah. There might be some similarities, here and there. I don't discount. But then it also shows the nature of our thinking, our worldview, our philosophy. And so you would take Julius on one side and ask a set of questions. You may take any EFL member here in Ghana and ask that same set of questions, and you realize that our answers may align. And so yes, the beret itself is something that is identified worldwide with revolutionaries, revolutionary philosophers, revolutionary practitioners like Ernesto Che Guevara, the likes of Fidel Castro and stuff like that. So yes, we align and identify, and we support them in what they are doing in South Africa, tackling the land question. Because for a very long time, the field leadership, as we have here, in Ghana, have tried to smother the truth and prevent people from being able to state it as it is. But don't forget, people have died, people have been killed, people have lost their livelihoods fighting for the land. And then you, assume power with the ANC, and now you don't want to talk about the land question any longer because you have found your personal conflict. So what Julius is doing is instigating and mixing and turning the tables to be able to bring out the answers that can lead to the liberation of the people.
Are you also on that
Whilst
same path?
we are on a similar path, and this is where the nuances comes in. Here in Ghana, the question for us is not land. Our forefathers, like the John Mensah Sabes, settled that question a long time ago. Remember when the Europeans tried bringing in the lands bill, where they were going to appropriate our land spaces, that every land space that is not being used, that is unoccupied, belongs to the British colonial government. That's precisely what they were going to do. But it took the likes of John Mensah Sabes and co. to mount a strong challenge through the ARPS and all of that, going to London to debate and fight through that. No, the land cannot come in your name. The land does not belong to you. The land belongs to the people. It is not even a property of the chiefs. The chiefs are simply holding the land in trust for the people. So our forefathers fought to fortify our ownership and control of the land. They did that. Unfortunately, that couldn't happen in South Africa. And that's why South Africa today has a Julius Malema championing the land question.
And we have an Ernesto.
And we have an Ernesto. And that Ernesto is not looking at the land question because our forefathers, resolved that a long time ago.
Okay.
Our devil is the current constitution, the 1992 constitution.
We'll be coming to that soon, but I just want to know, are you a signatory to the Fix the Country petition?
Absolutely. We are conveners to the Fix the Country protest.
Okay.
And so everything that they have done right from day one till now, we have supported it, and we are practically, foot soldiers to ensuring that the vision of fixing this country comes to fruition.
Are you satisfied with the direction it's going and what has been achieved, if there has been any achievement at all till now?
Well, Fix the Country has its structures, and the point is that it's not about me, it's not about Ernesto Yeboah. I am not a liberator. I am simply in to hold hands with the rest of us, to fight for what belongs to all of us. We are all liberators. And once we agree that this is the time to liberate ourselves, it happens. So this is where I find myself in Fix the Country. And to be able to lead, one must also learn to follow. One must learn to listen. One must learn to understand people from their point of view and the things that they want to achieve and how they want to achieve those things. So that's how it's been in there. And so far, I think it's been fantastic. Look at the likes of Kali J. These are not your active politicians, or they are everyday people, musicians like, Spooky and the rest. These are everyday people. But then they see that, no, we have a responsibility to direct the course of this nation. Because if we sit aloof, that future that we wish for ourselves and for our children would elude us. We have blatant thieves in power who are dissipating the wealth, stealing as if there is no tomorrow. They have an Esau mentality that let me eat and fill my belly, and the whole world can go to hell because I am full and satisfied in my belly. And so these are ordinary people who, look at the Fiodo, look at the likes of Felicity Nelson. So what is happening is beautiful. For us, it's a learning curve. We are getting to understand and learning more of our people and their thinking and their aspirations and their hopes and their dreams and all of that. So Fix the Country for me, is such a bloodline to the revolution that must happen in this country to bring about the change that we are looking for.
Many followers of the protest are saying Fix the Country is a success online, but it's not successful on the ground. And the calls for or against culture of silence is coming up, and they feel they are being silenced because of all these injunctions from the police and all the other, basically allowing others to do the same thing they are saying the protesters can't do. We've seen funerals of big men like Sir John and all happening, but protesters are being told not to come out to protest. Do you think it is true to say it is a failure on the ground?
That's complete nonsense, and that's for people who are not practitioners and they are just theorists or they are just commentators. But if you would enter 1 second in the boots that Fix the Country wears, I mean, those people won't survive one minute. They won't, because they don't understand the terrain, they don't understand what is happening. What Fix the Country has done so far is to further prove to the whole nation that our system is fake and must fall. At least that awareness has been created. They have shown the hypocrisy of the system. They have shown the falseness of the system. They have shown how the system is not in to work for you and I, but it is in to work for just a few, or a few group of people constituting the political establishment. The fight that Fix the Country is waging is not narrowed just down to Mr. Akufo-Addo and the MPP. No. It is a fight against the political establishment. It is a fight against the rotten system. Look at the minority in parliament and tell me they are not cutting deals. Tell me they are not in cahoots with Mr. Akufo-Addo and the government. Tell me. Tell me. I mean, all those, how do you call it? Those who were nominated for ministers. I mean, all of them. All those we are expecting not to go through vetting and have successfully gone through vetting. Tell me there is nothing wrong. When all of us are making the sacrifices, journalists are making, as we speak, I know media houses that have collapsed because of COVID. I know journalists that are on half salary or no salary because of COVID. I know students who have had a cut on their education because, they cannot continue. We are all making sacrifices. Drivers are making sacrifices. Police officers are making sacrifices. When I was arrested the last time, took me to one of the worst police stations, in Accra. And I get there and then the place is, the stench. And then I'm looking at the police officer, the chair, conditions of service and all of that. And I'm like, but these are the people who have been sent, we are fighting for them, who have been sent to come and arrest us and then put us in. So I started speaking, I spoke to all of them. I made many friends amongst the cellmates and then the police and all of that. The following day when I was marched to the regional commander's office, it's as if, the difference between the regional commander's office and the constable's, desk counterback where I was lodged. It's like heaven and hell. So it cuts across. We have a selfish group of leadership all over. In the army, in the police, in the prisons, in the immigration, at the presidency. Selfish. So you have junior officers suffering, making all the sacrifices, tolerating all the nonsense. And then these few elites at the top are chopping, are enjoying. So this is, practically where, we are. And if one has to, talk about how Fix the Country has been able to draw out these contradictions in society. You have the police officers themselves. They support you, but you see, But you see order from above, order from above. It has to stop.
Many blame the system. They keep saying system, system. Do you think it's the entire system, or there's a part of the system that's supposed to change?
Of course. I mean, the only part of the system where everything is okay is the top. They want to bath in planes, jets. That's where they want to take their bath. So that's where things are fixed. But tell me which part, apart from there, I mean, which part of the system that doesn't need fixing? Every part of the, system needs fixing. And we in the Economic Fighters League, and as upheld by, Fix the Country movement, have identified that we need a new constitution.
Do you think that will change the system?
Well, it would answer some of the fundamental questions. In fact, it would answer a greater portion of the fundamental questions that confront our society. You can't have a bad constitution and expect to have a good society.
Some of the things you are demanding for is the change of the entire 1992 constitution, abolishment of ex gratia, put Ghana in control of its natural resources. Presidents should not be immune to prosecution for criminal activities. Every party should be represented in parliament based on percentage they get in election. Yes, proportional representation. Also, the president should be prevented from appointing the heads of the security services. So, are these the only areas that you think could bring that change you're asking for, or you think it's just
there are many more areas, but sometimes just for the optics and to also be able to communicate in a way that the vast majority of the people can understand, you just do a short list. So what we've done is just a short list of things that we wish could be changed, or we feel should be changed, that people can rally around it. In fact, even Rawlings himself, whom this whole constitution was built to serve, was it in 2018, during his June 4th speech, said that, look, we should abolish the constitution. He said that. He said that. So why are we waiting? Tell me that this constitution hasn't produced a dictator in Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Tell me, what's the difference between the 1992 constitution president and the 1960 constitution president?
So if you say a dictator, what do you mean? He calls the shots because he's president?
Of course. Why are we not able to embark on the demonstration, for instance? Why?
Link it to the president.
Of course. If you read the acts or the provisions, the EI, it's clear. And the reason why the police was able to go to court to secure that injunction in the middle of the night against us was based on the fact that the court is saying, you know what, until Akufo-Addo says you can demonstrate against him, you have no right to demonstrate against him. You see, and the lawyers have a way of saying things that doesn't even make sense to make it look like it's making sense. That's precisely what the court said.
You thought the executive instrument was unnecessary?
Bear
in mind that there was coronavirus and all of the reasons why.
Coronavirus, we had elections, coronavirus, we did a registration exercise, for a new voters register, coronavirus, we've attended funerals, Rawlings' funeral was held, Sir John's funeral was held. So it looks like corona, becomes deficient in its level of attack the moment it is an activity being, in violation of its protocols by the political establishment. Once it's about them, then corona cannot affect them. So why can't we also be clothed with that immunity? Why can't the people whom they are serving be clothed with that immunity to do what? And if you looked at the demonstration notice, about 20 pages detailing clearly how we're going to observe the COVID protocols and all of that. Sir John's funeral, was anything of that sort even, centered on the table? Never, because Akufo-Addo is involved, because the Chief Justice is involved, because what's his name? The Attorney General is involved. Speaker of Parliament is involved. The big men and the big shots in society are involved. What kind of country is this? So this is what we are talking about. We have to get to the point where there is fairness, there is equality before the law, there is certainty of the law. That when the law says that nobody, it means nobody. It doesn't mean nobody with the exception of the president, nobody with the exception of the big man. So this is for us where this whole thing is leading to. And you see, gradually, and as a social scientist, what I'm seeing is the confidence of the youth or the confidence of the oppressed is being built in I can't get my words, but the system is heading for explosion. It is. Now even look at beggars in our streets. They are not begging anymore. They are ambushing, they are harassing in order to take their fair share of the cake that motorists, are perceived to have acquired. That's an army, right? Building right before us. And what has created that? It is a false system that the Sakawa 1992 Constitution has created. And with all these things that the police are doing or the political establishment is doing, preventing us, denying us, misapplying the rules and regulations and all of that, it's simply emboldening the people on a daily basis. And the people are beginning to feel that it looks like our only way out is to rebel. At that time, arresting Ernesto Yeboah is useless. Killing Ernesto Yeboah is useless. Because it is no longer an Ernesto Yeboah or Economic Fighters League something or No. The people are taking the battle on their own terms. Why? Because the establishment is pushing them to that corner where the only reasonable thing that is expected of them is to explode. We are all suffering. The only group of people that are not suffering is a political establishment.
So after this break, we'll talk about how to get fairness, equality, and to prevent the explosion of the masses or even the country. We'll be right back after this break.
From the dawn of time, people have engaged in several businesses. With the onset of technology and innovation, life has relatively been made easier. By using debit or credit cards,
Mobile banking.
Thank you. And your favorite, mobile money?
tech has indeed married business. On BizTech, we spend time with faces behind known and upcoming businesses in the country.
Learn more about the new technologies and innovation,
as well as find out about the trending issues in the world of business.
Join us as we serve you with a variety of compelling interviews, projects and others right here on GhanaWeb TV.
Welcome back to the Lowdown. My name is Ni Akwe Ismail Akwe, and our guest is Ernesto Yeboah. So we're talking about how to bring about fairness and equity, also equality, into this country, and how the youth and the people are rising up, and there's a lot of tension in the society. How can we do this, in your perspective?
We need an inclusive society. We need an inclusive system. A system that does not malign, a system that draws in and allows a fair distribution of the wealth and resources of our country to the people. A system that works honestly and genuinely for the people. And it is not difficult to be able to put such, systems in place. Ghanaians are not the worst group of people on earth. I have seen Ghanaians work elsewhere, and they are accorded, or they are seen as excellent workers. They are ethical. In fact, out there, if you say you are Ghanaian, there's a certain level of respect that is accorded you, beyond the fact of, the Nkrumah tag. Because out there, once you say Ghana, the next thing they tell you, oh, Nkrumah, and then they begin to extend courtesies to you. But they also see in the Ghanaian the drive, the ethics to obey and to follow due process and to let things work. So that's the Ghanaian I'm talking about. And I'm saying that you need a system that can create or amplify that Ghanaian in our society. The current system that we have brings out the worst in us. That's why things don't work. You go to the hospital where you are dying and you are crying for help, health help, and somebody wants to take bribe before they look, at you. A police officer is stopping you not because he cares about you. He's stopping you in order to take his share of your stolen money. So things like that. We need a system that corrects or brings out the best in us. And when you come to the political establishment, for instance, currently what we have is the MPP-NDC thing. And it's simply because it doesn't make sense under the current system to vote any party outside the MPP-NDC bracket. Any party that you vote for is a wasted vote, because we haven't been able to aggregate the confidence outside those political parties enough. Maybe it will happen, maybe it won't happen, but until it happens, there is that danger and trepidation of a possible explosion, because the current system as we have it excludes, and it has excluded a great majority of our people. Look at the Pakwesi Ndum's PPP. It started well, got some 1% at some point, I think, and then they crumpled. Then came GHUM in the last election. Also, they've crumpled. In the next election, they have to go and look for another resources somewhere and then come and attempt another 1%, or they might drop or something like that.
How do you blame the system when the people vote for either NDC or MPP? Isn't that the people's choice?
No, it's not necessarily the people's choice. If you've worked in a poultry farm before, or you've seen how a poultry farmer, sometimes just by the manipulation of light, is able to control the behavioral pattern of the chicks in the coop, you would see how manipulative our system is, and how it's driven the people to those conclusions that let me vote either MPP or NDC. Let's bring about a system such as proportional representation. Under proportional representation electoral system, every vote counts. So people are no longer afraid to vote outside MPP or NDC. They are free now to vote for their PPP, their UFP, their whatever, in the knowledge that whatever percentage that that party secures, it would have representation in parliament. It will have a voice in parliament. So talk about the GHUM, for instance, that's secured, or was it 1% or something like that. So like after the 2020 elections, we would have seen a situation where GHUM occupies 1% of the seats, 275 seats in parliament. Every national issue that comes up, we would hear the GHUM alternative. Those ministerial nominees that Ghanaians didn't, we would hear what GHUM also has to say about them. We would take people like Bernard Mona very intelligent guy. Atik Mohammed, very intelligent. Kwesi Pratt, very intelligent. Kweku Bako, these are very brilliant people. I mean, there's one knee guy too in the people, very intelligent. But all these guys are on the periphery of our politics. Talk about Bright Simon, all of them on the periphery of our politics. So the system we have doesn't even attract the best to the center in decision making. Imagine Bright Simon in parliament. Imagine, just imagine Kwesi Pratt, imagine Kweku Baku in parliament, being part of the parliamentary conversations, directing how policy, I mean, Ghana would be the better for it. But because we have a system that excludes, a system that creates charlatans, because to survive, you have to be a charlatan. I mean, that's almost the unwritten code. And so many of our good men, many of our resourceful people have fallen by the roadside because they have refused to play ball. So a system like proportional representation can address that.
So that's a how. That's solving the issue.
That's a how. Now look at how that system again resolves the issue of women participation in our politics. And it's a very big thing in the political manifestos, I mean, of our parties. Yet that's where it ends, political manifestos of our parties. So you have vibrant groups like Loyal Ladies in the MPP. And the question you keep asking, loyal to what? What are they doing? They are simply cheerleading. The men are taking the decisions. They are the center of decision making at conferences. Where do you find them? You find they are the ones who are doing the serving of the drinks and the foods, and sometimes even in the hotel rooms. That is not the kind of role we expect or we want women to play in our society. If we are talking about a fixed nation. A fixed nation is a nation that has parity, is a nation that has inclusivity, is a nation that draws on. You cannot sideline the vast majority of your people. Women constitute about 51% of the entire population, and yet what percentage do they make in government? What percentage? So proportional representation can address that, where we say that, okay, Goom, of your 1% that you got, 51% or 50% of them must be women. So the party goes into an election. Who wants to become member of parliament? Who wants to speak on behalf of the party in parliament and argue based on our ideology, our vision, our philosophy, and all of that? They vote. It may even have a point where, let's say, a man has clearly won. But to be able to meet that 50% or 51% quota regulation that one needs to be able to, enter parliament, the party would then have to sidestep the man in order to get the woman in. Now look at what that's going to do. Currently, as we speak, the political parties are not investing a kobo in women development or youth development in their parties. They are not taking them to programs or higher education institutes.
I'm sure they'll disagree with you because they have programs in their parties. All of them have programs. And they are beneficiaries.
And what are they doing? I'm talking about what I'm seeing. And what I'm seeing is that I see women cheerleading. During elections, they get one woman with a big bottles or two of them. They wear the party T-shirt. Their backside is, photographed, and then it's splashed, vote for MPP. Vote for ND. Is this how we want to treat women in the country? But you see, that's what I'm saying, that even this small change in the electoral system will have an effect on how the political, currently, what the gender groups are advocating for is, in terms of working on the gender parity, is affirmative action. What they don't understand is that patriarchy is not a man. Patriarchy is a system. So you may have a woman who advances patriarchy. She's the one that's, assembles young girls and feeds them to these old greedy fools. And then, I mean, satisfies their ego and stuff like that. And you are saying that these men who are beneficiaries of patriarchy should now be the ones to choose which woman should come and sit behind the decision-making table. What are we doing to ourselves? In the end, yes, you may have some women behind the tables. It is good for the optics. But when it comes to the real decisions that has to be taken in order to open the doors and windows and break the glass ceilings in order for women to enter, you will find that those same women that were, chosen and brought behind the table by patriarchy are the ones preventing it from happening. And then you ask why. Proportional representation takes away that power from patriarchy and hands it over to the people. And the people are now able to decide which woman should go and sit behind the tables of decision making in order to represent all of us and our collective interest.
Indeed, we have to acknowledge that there are so many strong women who have gone through the system and they've been in parliament. We have the likes of Hawa Yakubu and all the other women who have done so well. And I mean, there are currently women in parliament who are fighting for girls and also women, and they are doing well.
It's
We wouldn't say they are pushing the agenda of patriarchy.
It's on the cosmetic level. Look, when Wontumi insulted the running mate of, John Mahama in very derogatory terms and all of that, it is funny enough, it is Kweku Bako who cautioned the party that no, discipline this guy, rein him in, advise him, make it public. It is Eslousu who, decried that. Was like, it is, I've forgotten exactly what, but almost in support of Wontumi, in the denigration of another woman. So this is the point I'm making. When it comes to, the crunch, you'll find that they would crumble. Why? Because patriarchy is what invited them behind the tables of decision making. We need to break that. To be able to bring gender parity and inclusivity in our system, we have to aim to break the hand of patriarchy. But if we continue to massage it, and because Akufo-Addo will be angry, because Mahama will be angry, why should Mahama be the one to choose which woman becomes his running mate? But that's precisely what it is. So tokenism is what affirmative action in this category actually serves. So, and we are saying that proportional representation resolves that question.
So I think in all the points you made, proportional representation is key, is king in all of them.
It's key.
But do you see any end in sight to this tension, all these issues that are coming up? Do you see it in sight, or it's going to be even beyond your age?
Well, like I have said, as for the explosion is going to happen, and it is either going to be led or unled. What we are seeking to do is to lead it, so that even when it explodes, we still have a direct, clear roadmap that we are following to be able to get to our destination. Because don't forget, the explosion is not happening for its own sake. It is happening in want. In want of what? In want of a better future, in want of a fairer society, in want of a just. So all of these things. And what a led revolution does is that it lists them. And the reason why some of us don't think that June 4th was a revolution, it was a day of senseless killings, a day of senseless violence unleashed on the people of Ghana. The day when women were dehumanized and debased to that point where, women were stripped naked. That is not us. That's not our society. That is not the Ghanaian. So that is not what we are looking for.
So clearly the explosion you're talking about is not about killing, it's not about dehumanizing people, attacking people and all of that.
Some killings may happen.
May happen.
Of course. I mean, left to me, it shouldn't happen. It won't happen if it's just me. But it's not me. I don't know how the other person will react. I don't know what the story of the other person is. And I've just pointed a social phenomenon that's happening. The beggars are no longer begging. So this is where we are. And one cannot determine how the other is going to respond or how the other is going to act. That's why we are simply seeking to lead that revolution so that it is tempered, it is directed to that point where we can arrive at that society that we are looking for. Because they are not seeking to inflict violence on another just because they want to see blood. No, they are seeking to inflict violence on another so that they can have their fair share. So they can, exact their pound of flesh. That you have cheated us, you have neglected us, you have stolen from us, and so we are destroying you, our oppressor or our enemy, so that we can now stand before the opportunities that you have prevented us from accessing all this while. That's what the revolution is about. And we are simply seeking to lead it so that we don't arrive at the point where the senseless killing, the senseless blood pour, and debasing is just what becomes of that revolution.
So what kind of Ghana do you want to see?
We want a Ghana that works for all of us. Mm-hmm. A Ghana that has a police service that is genuinely interested in the welfare of the people. A police service that is not armed because the society is fixed. A leadership that is not stealing from us, a leadership that has a clear plan to protect our future and to protect our present. Look at what is happening to our water bodies. Galamsey all over. The same politicians who are galamseying will come on our national platforms and say, stop galamsey. The hypocrisy of it, we see it. It's happening. They say, we are banning excavator. Do you know how much money they are making in those pits? And then you come and talk about banning one excavator or two excavators. What about their prosecutions? When those Chinese are arrested, what happens to them? They are not even tried and sentenced in the country. They are deported. Is that what would have happened to me if I did galamsey in China or America? Would I just be deported? Oh, go back to your country. So our leaders have clearly taken us for granted. They clearly underestimate our intelligence. And so this for me is where we've got into. And so as they keep doing what they are doing, it's just scientific. Anybody who is a student of history or has read a little bit of history would understand that a society that is suppressed is led to inevitable explosion. And that's precisely what is happening. We can't even cry. You want to cry for George Floyd, Ekufuadu says, hey. Or the Ghana police says, hey. And you are arrested. And that day it was not just Ghana police. It was Ghana police, national security, and Ghana army. And it was not even just the Ghana police again. It was their counter-terrorism unit unleashed violently on an armless group of people. So if this is how you are treating your citizens want to demonstrate, and then you are saying that, hey, you cannot demonstrate. They go to court to secure an injunction and all of that. Whereas in other places where, they aspire to liberty, you don't even have, you have instances where you can demonstrate without notifying the police. Why do we even have that in the Public Order Act? Why should we necessarily notify the police? Something has happened right now and I want to, express, because it's free expression. I want to express myself. You say, go and notify the police. Why don't you put in place the criteria that, okay, you may demonstrate without notice, but this is the parameters within which you must operate. So you may not block the roads, you may demonstrate along the pavement, you may walk along so. I mean, they can give all those modalities. And that's how you build a free and equitable society. But to suppress the people and suppress them and misapply the rules and Charlie, what they are calling for is an inevitable explosion.
So are we going to see you in any protests soon?
Oh, as for the protests, we have said it. Whether they like it or not, it will happen.
The Fix the Country protest?
Oh, the Fix the Country protest is what I'm talking about. It will happen. Nobody can stop it. The executive can't stop it. The legislature can't stop it. The judiciary can't stop it. The police can't stop it. The army can't stop it. In fact, all of them combined can't stop it. So we are simply being pushed to that point where that inevitable explosion would occur. And it would not occur because Ernesto Yeboah has instigated it. It would occur because that's simply where they have pushed the whole society to. Everybody is sick and tired. I mean, recently you heard, you have a situation where teachers cannot even talk about the problems or challenges they are facing in the education system. Why? Media houses, journalists are unable to report on stories that, needs lights on in order to protect and save the public purse and things like that. We've seen journalists that have been killed. Today, where's Anas? Anas's name has been murdered. Just like that. Why? Because the guy was, amplifying the light based on corrupt activities in our society. Manasi Azure had to run away to South Africa, and then he's back. How many journalists will be able to follow, in that part? So we are seeing it everywhere. The oppressive environment that has been created is clear to all. Imagine that under President Kwame Nkrumah, there was COVID. And then as part of the EI, it says that it is only the president who can renew the protocols and renew, activities that could be undertaken or not undertaken. And one of those activities that cannot be undertaken is demonstration. So until Nkrumah's permission is sought, nobody can demonstrate. How would Akufo-Addo's father have described Kwame Nkrumah? How would Mr. Akufo-Addo describe Kwame Nkrumah? How would, those who are leading us today have described Kwame Nkrumah? So when it comes to Kwame Nkrumah, we are free to paint him with that brush, dictator. But when it comes to Mr. Akufo-Addo, when it comes to Mr. Mahama, when it comes to Mr. Kufuor, when it comes to Professor Atamels, they are democratic leaders. You have a dictator constitution in place, and that dictator constitution must be abolished and killed in order to liberate our people.
The dictator constitution must be abolished. Those are the words of Ernesto Yeboah. We've come to the end of the Lowdown. Do you have any final words you want to share to the viewers?
I think I'm done.
I think you're done. Ernesto Yeboah is done. This is the Lowdown. You can catch us on all of GhanaWeb's digital channels, and you could also watch us every Monday on Facebook, YouTube. My name is Ni Akwe Ismail Akwe. This is the Lowdown.